Sabrina here, and I am back. I know it's been a while, but I have a new video tutorial today showcasing some of our new Easter products. I wanted to make sure I get this video up in due time for Easter, which is actually at the end of March this year. So I'm going to be using our new Carrot Patch Bunnies 6x8 stamp set, which I just showed. I'm going to show how I color a few of these images. And this is actually the stamp that's part of our Easter card kit. And if I have time this week, I'm going to try to film a 10 card one kit video using that card kit. I'm pretty busy this month and especially next month. I'm going to 2 in-person shows. I'll be going to the Orlando Expo as well as the Chantilly, Virginia one. So if you are near those areas and you're looking for a fun, crafty weekend, I encourage you guys to check out the Scrapbook Expo website. We're going to be teaching classes, and we're basically bringing the Scrappy Tales shop to you. But I have to prepare a lot for those really big shows, and I'm also going to be launching a collection in early April. So I'm going to see if I can squeeze it in sometime next week. But no promises. I did do a live a few weeks ago using elements from the card kit. I made a really cute slimline card, and if I do end up doing a video, I'll include that card in the video. But if you want to see a real-time card assembly, it actually was a little bit of a one of those days where everything seemed to go wrong while you're making a very simple card. It seems like my most complex cards are the easiest ones for me to create, and then I sometimes will slip up on such a simple design. But everyone has those days, and if you want to see me mess up several times, that's a live you can check out. And in that video, I color the same stamp set. In this video, you can see I'm using Copics, and whenever I shade with my alcohol markers, I always go from darkest to lightest. And I, in that live, used my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and I actually color very similarly. I do go from darkest to lightest, but I only use 2 markers, and then my highlight is actually water. So I'm basically pulling the darker pigment out to the lighter areas, and that naturally creates a lighter color. So it's just another way to color these. I actually drew these in a very whimsical, kind of cartoonish art style. So I think that they would lend themselves very well to no line coloring. I think they'd look like little storybook images. And that's just another way you can color them, with color pencils maybe. Yeah, it's just a really cute stamp set for Easter. And I will be using the images from this stamp on my second card design. I think I only ended up using 3 out of the 5 bunnies. So I'm actually just going to show you the images that I ended up using for my card, but typically when I work, I like to almost work in a mass production style. So instead of just stamping the couple bunnies I think I'll need, I'll just stamp the whole stamp set. And I almost always end up using the extra images on another card. So in this case, I did stamp out all the bunnies, and I used the 2 that I did not use on this card for a book that was shown in my showcase video. So I just feel like if I have all the colors already out, all the bunnies were basically colored in the same gray tones, I might as well do extra coloring. I feel the same way about die cutting too. It just seems like a more efficient way to craft for me. So for most of these images, I am using 3 markers, but as you can see, like these daffodils, they're pretty small. You can definitely just use 2 markers. I did not end up using these tulips, but I'll go ahead and leave it in. Now these tulips and the daffodil, they might look familiar because I used these 2 images for the stencil. It's not in the card kit. It's a standalone stencil set, but basically you get the same shading that I'm doing here with my Copics, but with your inks as a large A2 sized image with this layering stencil set. The image includes this adorable pot of carrots. I really like the gardening theme of this collection. It obviously works very well for Easter, but I think a lot of these images you can use for spring cards. So my favorite bunny from that stamp set is this one that is trying to dig for some carrots in the dirt, and all you see is his little bunny butt. This bunny I decided to do in a light kind of beige color. And I ended up using this image because I'm going to pair it with my Carrot Patch Bunny die set. Again, the bunnies that are in the two dies I end up using today are drawn in the same style as these stamped bunnies, so they work together very well. And in that Carrot Patch Bunny set, there are dirt piles. So I felt like I could pair this dirt stamped bunny with the dirt die cut. And in case you're wondering, I am coloring at 4 times the speed. I think I had about an hour's worth of coloring, but again, I didn't use like half the images I ended up stamping out. So in total for the second card I'll be making, it was probably only about 30 minutes of coloring. For me, Copics are a very quick way to get awesome coloring. Not just Copics, any alcohol markers perform the same way. Copics are nicer because, in my opinion, because they have the nicer nibs that make it easy to blend, so I feel like you're not using as much of the ink. However, alcohol inks in any marker blend the same. You're going to get an awesome look with any kind of marker that you have. And I used to be so intimidated by Copics, but now it's just like second nature. I know exactly how to shade because I always go for a center highlight, and it never ceases to amaze me the end result that I get using those markers. So for my first card design, I'm going to be featuring layering dies. So this one that I am paper piecing right now is the wheelbarrow bunny, and this is the bunny that's included in the card kit. So again, if I have time this week, I will try to do a 10 card one kit video because I have so many ideas with this little bunny. He's perfect for A2 cards, and he pairs perfectly with the Carrot Patch Bunny die set, which I'll be also using on this card design. But I think that they'd also be adorable on a slimline card with all those little dirt hills and like a row of grass, and then just load it with a ton of carrots. That would be an adorable scene. So as you can see, I have my pile of die cuts. I did all of that off camera. I believe this bunny has like at least 30 layers that you can add to him if you want all those details. And for me, at least, and I'm sorry my head's in the way, but I personally love paper piecing, so all those layers make me happy, and I just enjoy watching the process and seeing how the image kind of comes to life. Now, I did include the mouth and the eyeballs, which you saw me add right there. You don't have to do that. You can use a marker to fill in his eyes because on the base die, there is kind of an indent where his mouth and his eyes are. So you can just follow that indent with a fine liner and you don't have to worry about those teeny tiny pieces. I'm giving him his little rake. I went for a white bunny here, and the other bunny, I will make him gray. But as you can see, I cut the, I guess, base of the rake from a solid gray, and then the actual metal part of the rake I cut from silver mirror. I also did that with the wheelbarrow, so it just adds a little bit of shine to this image. But there's an example where you don't have to do that extra paper piecing. You could have just left the whole rake that solid gray color. I'm going to paper piece his little tummy, which I cut from a light gray, and then I even cut his boots as well as his hat from yellow, which is so adorable. Okay, so now all I have left are those larger carrots. I just cut some extra because I wasn't sure how many I would need. but these are nice to kind of fill in the scene. And so the pop-up that I will be pairing all of these bunnies with is the A7 pop-up trellis die. This is my third video, I believe, featuring that trellis pop-up. And that's just because it's a really cute die set. And I've been doing a lot of Easter cards because, our last collection was Easter themed, but you can really build any spring scene with that die. And our April collection kind of expands upon that pop-up, and I made a die that's similar to it, but it has like another interactive element to it. So I hope to bring out variations of that pop-up throughout the different seasons, because I like how easy it is to assemble, and I like how many looks you can get with it. I know people really enjoy when some of my pop-ups can be turned into A2 cards as well as A7, and I try my best to do that, but you guys know I preferably am an A7 card maker, and sometimes I just can't scale down to that size, but sometimes it works out. So that's why I really love this die, and I've been using it a lot. And right now I am paper piecing the Carrot Patch Bunny die set, and I just absolutely love his overalls. Again, I gave him a yellow hat to match his little bunny friend. And this die also includes a basket of carrots, so you can see I went ahead and pre-die cut everything, including some more carrots. This is the die that has the dirt hill, and that dirt hill is a bridge. And if you don't want it to be a bridge, you would just cut off the glue tabs and use it on a regular card. But if you leave the glue tabs on, it actually creates a bridge that you can add inside the trellis. That's why this bunny is a part of that bundle. And I feel like that dirt hill works really well, like with our bunny silhouettes, which is also in the bundle, and with some of the flower dies. So I felt like the dirt hill can work beyond just these little bunnies. It also works with that stamp set, which I'll be using for the second design. All right, so I again created the same shovel with that silver mirror. I like that shine. And now I'm working on the basket. So I cut the basket, I think from a light pink cardstock. I'm first going to paper piece the larger carrots, and these ones, you might notice that the tip of the carrots are missing. That's intentional. That's because you're meant to tuck them into the dirt hill. So the dirt hill has slits where you can tuck these in. So you'll see that a little bit later. But you may have noticed that some of the die cuts I am layering up double, sometimes triple, just to add more dimension. There's so many layers already on these bunnies, but I knew that these were going to be the focal point on my card, so I did double them up. Now, whenever I create a pop-up, I don't always double or triple layer just because it's already a pop-up, like it's kind of overkill. But in this instance, I went ahead and just added an extra die cut because it does also add stability. A lot of these images are kind of just floating in my pop-ups, so having them be a little bit heavier is helpful. So here's the fence from that A7 pop-up trellis die. I'm not going to use the trellis on my first card. I'm just going to use the fence in the grass. So I left one border as is, exactly how it's meant to be. Cut out, I cut it, and then you can see that second piece, I cut just the center part out. So I followed the score lines on the sides of the fence and just cut the sides off so that I'm left with just that middle part. I'm going to take that long piece that I left as is, add double-sided tape to the glue tabs. You can see that the glue tabs are facing upwards. And then I will attach that piece that I cut that just has the center part of the fence. That's just going to attach right on top of those glue tabs, and the panels on the fence will hide those tabs. I used a combination of glue and tape here. And then you just get this little fence box. It's really simple. You can also create something similar to this if you have like any kind of slimline border die. You just have to add your own glue tabs to do that. So this is just kind of like an added card that you can make with that pop-up. And this is what will end up being my A2 card. And believe it or not, when I was creating these smaller card designs or pop-ups, they took me just as long, if not longer, than my A7 designs, just because I was pairing my very intricate layering dies, such as these bunnies, and those took quite a bit of time, just as long as the coloring did for my second card, which ended up being an A7 card. All right, so I cut apart the grass die from the same trellis pop-up die set, and I cut the grass from light green and dark green. I'm just stacking the two greens together to add a little bit of dimension. It's also going to add some more stability to this box shape. And again, I'm following the score lines that are drawn on the die and cutting where those score lines are so that I can basically wrap this grass all the way around. You can leave it as one piece and wrap it around if you want. I just find that it folds better when I cut it into these smaller pieces. But that just adds a nice bit of color towards the bottom. And then you might have saw earlier I had my dirt piles cut from craft cardstock. I did cut them from heavyweight craft because they're going to be a bridge that's going to hold my somewhat heavy bunnies. So I'm going to add 3 of these inside my box. I'm going to add strong double-sided tape to those glue tabs. And I'm going to start from the back and kind of move towards the front. So I'm going to also add a little bit of glue in case I have to wiggle this around, but I'm going all the way to the back fence panel on the sides, on the left and right side, and I'm gluing this fairly high up, like just below where that fence kind of changes its shape. And then I will fold it flat just to make sure it's nicely adhered. Then I'll go on to my second dirt hill. And you might see there those slits where you would add those carrots. You don't have to do carrots. You can do flowers or other kind of vegetables. So you can turn this into any kind of garden for the springtime. And then this one I'm going to add to the center left and right fence panel. And I'm going to glue it slightly lower down. Again, I just closed it a couple times to make sure that tape adheres to the fence panel nicely, and then I'm just going to add my final dirt hill. Now this one I didn't need as tall. I needed just a little bit of it because I'm going to be gluing this pretty low down, and I want to make sure that it still lines up with the bottom of the fence. I don't want it to be below the fence. So I did trim that down a little bit. And this one I'm gluing to the second fence post on the left and right side, pretty far down. You can barely see that last one, but it does add another layer of dimension, which I really like. Something I do like about the smaller A2 cards is they kind of look more detailed because everything is so compact. And it is all obviously more detailed because these bunnies have, like I said, like 30 layers to them. All right, so I'm going to add my wheelbarrow bunny onto the second dirt hill, and then my bunny that's holding the shovel I'll add to the very front of the card. And then I'm just going to basically embellish this card with carrots. So I'm going to tuck in all of those carrots right into the slits. You might have to use like a little pin or slightly bend that slit forward in order to squeeze those in, but I really like how it looks like they're just sprouting from the dirt. This was probably something I should have done before I glued the dirt hills inside the pop-up, but it ended up being okay. I'm going to add some of the carrots directly to the front of the card as well. I'm also going to add my basket of carrots. And I had some leftover white flowers. I believe these were from the new spring tree die set. So I'm just going to add a couple white flowers around the basket. I love all those tiny details. And I'm just using the tip of my pokey tool to add those. All right, I think I'm just going to add a couple more carrots, and the Carrot Patch Bunny die set also includes little labels that you would see when you're gardening that label the different vegetables. So you can add those instead of the carrots if you want. And here I wanted to show you that it does in fact fit in an A2 envelope. I'm filming this with one hand, so bear with me. There we go. It just pops right into place, and it's just such a adorable little card. So that finishes off the first design. And now we're going to create an A7 trellis pop-up. So this is going to feature that other part of the pop-up die set that has the large trellis in the back. And it just kind of creates the perfect backdrop for any spring scene. I'm also going to be using that same fence again, as well as the grass that again I cut from 2 shades of green. Here are all of my stamped images that are die cut with the coordinating dies. I will have everything I used linked down below. I also include, these little pictures because sometimes people come shop on my website later and that image kind of reminds them like, hey, I used this in a recent video. And there is a sale happening right now. We are doing a spring cleaning sale. So basically I'm just trying to clear out some inventory so that we can stock up on our new April collection, which is big. Guys, I went back to making big collections, which was not intentional. And so far the June collection is also looking to be pretty big. That's just always usually what ends up happening. I just always get more ideas as I'm illustrating, and sometimes I can like rein it in, and other times I have to do the thing that pops in my head, So anyway, I'll talk about that collection as we get closer to the launch, but it is, I will say, probably my favorite spring collection I've brought out so far. It is really beautiful, and it's drawn in different styles, so there's something for everyone. Like I said, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but anyway, for this card, I did double up the trellis in the back just to make it more sturdy. And again, I'm cutting apart the fence. This time, I want the 2 side pieces, and you might have just noticed that I left a little bit of the fence at the very bottom of one of the panels. I cut off like 2/3 of the panel at the top and just left that tiny bit at the bottom there. That is actually going to be my glue tab where I will add my grass. So I did not want a row of fence in the front. I only wanted a row of grass so that you could see more of the dirt hills. So I only wanted the fence to be on the side of the trellis. So you can see I am adding glue to the glue tabs that attach to the back of the trellis. I went ahead and added those to the left and right side. And now I'm adding a tiny bit of tape to those little notches that I left on the front. Those are going to be my glue tabs that I will glue my grass right across. So again, I cut the grass into those 3 different pieces following the score lines that are already on the die so that I can glue the grass on top of those tabs. And because it's just like a little sliver of grass at the bottom, I am going to add another layer of grass to make it slightly taller, slightly more substantial. It's still pretty short. I think I end up adding a dirt hill also, but trust the process. It ends up looking super cute. And I'm glad that I only used grass because I end up using a lot of stamped images, and if that fence would have been in the front, you would not have seen the full coloring that I spent a long time doing. So anyway, I'm going to use those remaining grass pieces that I cut and add those to the sides again. And then I'll add my dirt hill bridges. I believe I add 3 again. This time I'm going to work from the front to the back. So I'm going to add my double-sided tape to those glue tabs. I'll also add glue just in case I have to shift this around a little bit. And I learned from the first card, I am going to go ahead and stick some of these carrots into those slits before I put it into the pop-up. And so what I do is I just kind of open up those slits and tuck these in and add a little bit of glue behind them so that they don't move at all. All right. And so I'm going to glue this, I think, to the second fence post on the left and right side, just so that's peeking just a little bit over those grass pieces. All right. Then I'll add another dirt hill. I don't think I add any carrots to this one because I knew my stamped bunny was going to go on this piece. Go ahead and add some more double-sided tape here. And this one I'm going to glue to the center fence post on the left and right side, slightly higher than the one we added in front. And I think I cut that dirt hill from a slightly darker brown, it looks like. And here I have my little bunny butt. I kind of regret adding him to the grass portion of this card. You're going to see I'm just going to glue it right over that grass. I kind of wish I added him to a dirt hill because he is digging through the dirt. But it's fine. It still ends up looking pretty cute. And I love that little sign. So at first I did add this little cluster of daffodils inside the slit on the back dirt hill. You're going to see later I'll take that out, even though it's really cute. You could do that with the tulip image as well. But I wanted to add more bunnies to this card, so you'll see later I'll take him off, or take the daffodils off. I think I'm going to end up using this bunny that's holding the bag of carrots. And then I also wanted to use the bunny that's holding the stack of carrots. Okay, just kidding. I end up using the bunny that's watering the plants. I did want to pop her up a little bit above that dirt hill, so I'm adding several layers of cardstock over the areas that I know will overlap the dirt hill. And that's just going to give her a little bit of dimension, and that way it looks like she's watering the carrots. And then that bunny that has the stack of carrots, I'll glue him directly on to the dirt hill. And that adds a little bit of dimension between the two bunnies. Since they're technically on the same hill, one of them still looks like they're in the forefront more than the other. All right, so I had this cute little rake and the shovel. I wish I added that shovel to the slit there, but for some reason I decided not to do that, and I stuck with just those images. I am going to add a sentiment. I die cut some circle dies. I think I layered 2 heavyweight white circles together and then added the orange on top for some dimension, and that's just going to go on the back of the trellis along with my sentiment. I went with "You're a 24 karat friend." I thought that was adorable. And then that finishes off my second design. So that's how it folds flat, and it fits inside an A7 envelope. Here's the final image, and then I'll also just bring in that A2 card that we did earlier. And I just realized that I got sidetracked, that I mentioned that we had a sale, but I didn't give you guys the coupon code. So the code is Spring Clean 15, and that is for 15% off your order. So that will run through Monday night. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll have everything that I use linked down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!